Greetings everyone. I hope you're having a great day. I am Anisha Dhingra and I am a psychologist. And being a psychologist, we come across a lot of people. So a lot of people share their experience, their emotions that we feel throughout the day. So talking about the emotions, I have observed that there are some people who do not like the emotion what they're feeling, or maybe the emotional response, like that's making them cry or that's making them sad. So I have observed that people tend to escape the emotions, people tend to run away from the emotions. So today we are going to talk about the same, that are you running away from the emotions, why it is happening, and if there can be a better way other than running away from emotions. And in between I have a very important theory that I will be talking about, so stay tuned. So talking about these emotions, there are basically two sets of emotion. One set of emotion is the like how people like to call it the positive emotions, but I would choose to call it comfortable emotions. These are emotions like happiness, joy, excitement, peace, proud, joy, love, all these kind of emotions. And then there's another set of emotion. What is this? These are, people call it negative emotion. I would choose to call it uncomfortable emotion, but because I do not like to label anything as negative, because these are very natural emotions. So the uncomfortable emotions are basically like sadness, anger, guilt, you know, disappointment. All these things are uncomfortable emotions that we do not feel comfortable while experiencing them. Then talking about emotion, so when we talk about uncomfortable emotion, these are one reason, since they are uncomfortable for us, we do not like them, that makes us run away from the emotion. But then there are so many layers more to it. I'll talk about each one of them one by one. So along with the negative or uncomfortable emotion, there comes negative self-talk or negative automatic thoughts. What can these be? Per se, if I feel disappointed with myself, the automatic thought might be, I do not deserve this, I am not worthy, I cannot get this. And all these negative or self-handicapping thoughts will be coming. Again, this will make me run away from these negative emotions. Then the third thing is emotional responses. Each emotion comes along with the emotional or behavioral response. This can be, if I'm feeling happy, I would like to hug my mother. If I'm feeling sad, I would like to sit in a corner and not talk to anyone. If I am feeling really disappointed or really upset, I would also like to cry sometimes. So this is my uncomfortable emotional, uncomfortable emotional response. Or maybe if I am feeling angry, I might burst out my anger and burst out my emotions at people or lash out, basically. So these are the emotional responses that also makes us run away from the emotions. But there is one important concept we might be missing in between emotions and thought and the emotional experiences. So what is this thing in between? These are known as secondary emotions. So now let's talk about what these secondary emotions are. The secondary emotions are basically the emotions that are preceded by the primary or the original emotions. So basically, what particular emotion I experience one emotion, what it makes me feel are the secondary emotions. I'll give you example. Don't worry. So, for example, that I was feeling disappointed, and that made me feel sad, and then it made me feel guilty, and now that guilt and sadness is bringing anger towards myself or towards the situation. These are, so basically the disappointment was the primary emotion which I originally felt. Now sadness, guilt and anger are my secondary emotions that came along, right? So similarly, that if I am happy, I am going for a picnic, I'm very excited, the excitement is the primary emotion, and the secondary would be that I am happy, I am enjoying, I am at peace, I am satisfied. So these are the secondary emotions. and why we are talking about these things, and what as I mentioned, that secondary emotions can be different to all the individuals. I may feel different secondary emotion to one primary emotion. Why does that happen? And this is very important. This happens because it depends on what perception or what interpretation or what judgment we are giving to a primary emotion. Per se, that there are two different people, person A and person B. Both are having anxiety. Now the person A is very scared, and he interprets an anxious feeling as something very scary happening to him. So he would feel scared and he would respond in such way. Now this person B, he understands that anxiety is a very basic emotion. It happens naturally, and it's just one of the fight and flight response, and all the psychoeducation is given to him. So he's very comfortable with that. Though it's uncomfortable, but in his mind he believes that it's a very natural emotion. So that brings along self-compassion, that brings along sensitivity to him, and he will be able to handle that better. So you can see the difference in the secondary emotion, which is actually making the difference in our emotions and our behavioral responses. So this is where secondary emotions is very important. So the fourth thing, or the fourth reason why we are running away from the emotions, are the very important secondary emotions. So talking about secondary emotions, let's talk about why secondary emotions comes out as a problem to us. What is the problem with secondary emotion? The first thing is that secondary emotions, based on our perception of the primary emotion, can be very uncomfortable for us. And we may also end up ourselves in, doing certain things that are not accepted or not desirable by ourselves. Per se, that I was disappointed per se, and now because I have this idea that feeling disappointed with yourselves is very unhealthy and it's not good at all, now I am feeling guilt, or I am getting angry, or I am feeling some other uncomfortable secondary emotion. So it leads to a chain where we are just not comfortable with the emotion that originally happened, and we may also start crying, or we may also start lashing out that we don't want ourselves to do. Maybe if there's something, if I was hurt, but now I am showing a secondary emotion of anger and I am lashing out at people, so it results in undesirable or unacceptable behavioral response also. And not only that, secondary emotions can be very distracting also. A reason why that, per se, I had a primary emotion where something happened, like I was trying to communicate my emotions, I was trying to share something about myself with my friends, and they did not hear me properly. I was very hurt, and I was sad, and I was disappointed, right? Now this disappointment turned into anger, and then I lashed out. But now what happened, that I'm not comfortable with me getting angry with people, and that anger is resulting in guilt. Now what is happening, that you will be focused towards that guilt, in that trap of emotion. That will be the major emotion will be guilt now, and not anger. So it's distracting you from the original concern, that was that I am not happy with what my friends did. I wanted them to understand. You won't focus on the problem, you would focus on the guilt now, that I cannot be angry, and you would set unacceptable or unachievable goals for yourself, that I do not have to be angry, right? So it can be very distracting. So, and not only that, secondary emotions can actually make us to feel that I really want to escape this emotion, because I'm not comfortable with the basic primary emotion, and it is bringing the secondary emotions which are even more uncomfortable. So I really want to escape that. So it brings a habit of escaping the emotions, and that's where the problem lies. We are escaping, and we are not confronting the emotion, we are not confronting the real problem. So this is one of the biggest reason, and this is the fourth reason why we escape from the emotions. But that's not it. We're going to talk about what we need to do to make these secondary emotions, because I'm not saying secondary emotions won't happen, because even this is a very natural process, but how to make it a very soothing and very helpful process for yourself. So as I mentioned that we will be talking about all the techniques we can use in this case, not to avoid the emotions, to actually confront them. So, as secondary emotions make us feel that we are getting out of control. They do not let us see that the situation can be actually controlled and the problem can actually be solved. So, what to do in this case? I have 3 techniques for you. Actually, 4. Yeah. The first technique is to actually differentiate and identify the primary and secondary emotions. It's very important for us to identify that this was the root primary emotion, this was the original primary emotion that happened, and these are the secondary emotions that happened. Only then we will be able to find it out. Now, the second thing is accept and acknowledge all the emotions. No emotion is unnatural. I understand it has their own consequences, there are emotional responses along with that, but the very first step to work on any problem or work on anything is to accept and acknowledge that. So acknowledging that I was feeling, this thing happened and it made me feel like this is a very good way of working with the emotions and not escaping the emotions. The third reason is self-reflection. Now talk to yourselves that even if I'm feeling angry, or even if I'm feeling guilty, or maybe anxious, or maybe depressed, why are the secondary emotions very uncomfortable? Why I am labeling these primary emotions as something very negative? What is wrong with these emotions? Why I cannot feel sad? Why I cannot feel anxious? Why I cannot feel depressed or guilt or disappointed? So talk to yourselves. And even if that is not helping, I understand there are situations we are not able to help ourselves. That's perfectly fine. Then talk to people, talk to therapists about it. Come to us. Basilmind have a lot of counselors for you, and they can help you understand that these are the primary emotions, these are the secondary ones, what interpretation we have made from these emotions, what are the things that are actually wanting us to hide away from the emotions, and what can be a better way to actually confront the emotions and focus on the problems and not getting distracted. So these are some tips, and I hope that these tips and these explanation have helped you out to understand your emotion, to understand why we might be escaping from the emotions, and to understand what to do about it. And we would be very happy to help you and assist you. Feel free to reach us out if there's anything required. Thank you everyone. Have a great day.